everyone. So I've had some more requests to do another walkthrough of task 1 for the ESP. So this time I'm going to show you how to do a Gantt chart in a slightly different way. Previously I showed you the bar chart way, and this one's going to be a little bit different. Hopefully you might find it a little bit easier to do. So this is task 1. We're going to work through the sample assessment material, which is freely available from Pearson, so you can just download this and work on it. So task 1, you're allowed 3 hours. You're not allowed access to the internet, which means you can't download any templates for projects or for Excel. You have to actually start from scratch, from a blank document. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. This particular scenario is about RBSX Group, and they're planning a new digital solution. Basically, they're a bank and they want a financial solution. So for task 1, you need to do the project plan. So you need to do the Gantt chart and the resource plan and the cost plan as well. So they want a digital solution that allows clients and advisors to communicate more effectively. They want to have clients to have better access to their financial services and products, and they want advisors to be able to carry out financial analysis and data analysis and other things like that. For this task 1, we need this information down here. This talks about the annual revenue increase that they expect, so 8.75 in the first year and then 15.5 in the second and third year. We'll need that later on when we do the cost and financial plan. We're given the financial information for the project, so you'll get this format all the time for whatever scenario you're given in the exam. There'll be the annual revenue, the annual costs, and then some costs associated with the specific project. These might change. So, for example, on here we are given the cost of a new server, and you're given 2 options. Option 1, which is cloud-based server, and option 2, which is physical server. This one seems to be quite popular, so they seem to throw that one in quite a lot. Some of the other ones they've thrown in a choice in software licensing, which is not particularly relevant for the first bit of the project where you've got to do all the tasks. That'll be relevant later on because it'll affect your costs. Cost of upgrading infrastructure, there will be some hardware development aspects to the project, and there will also be software development aspects, so it's up to you to decide which tasks are relevant to each part of that development. Project leaders pay, that varies, but that's you, how much you're going to get paid. There's going to be some ongoing annual costs, mainly some kind of IT support technician and maintenance costs for servers, equipment and infrastructures, so things like that. Then you're given some information about the people who are going to work on the project. So you'll have a senior software engineer, you might have 1 or 2 junior software engineers, you might have a database engineer, and then somebody who's going to work on the hardware and network engineer. Those are all pretty standard throughout all the different projects and past papers. As I said, it might vary slightly. You might only get 1 junior software engineer, you might get 2 database engineers, you might also have an apprentice put in there, any kind of variation like that. Then you're given the profiles for the staff. So we've got Sarah there, she's the senior software engineer. That's all her skills, her previous experience, and how much she is going to get paid. So she's going to get paid £105 an hour. You've got the junior software engineer, so you've got Arhad down there, and that's his skills. He's newly graduated, he's got no previous work experience. There will be somebody like that, okay, so they might have just have a recent graduate, they might have an apprentice. What you need to bear in mind with that is when you're assigning them tasks, don't let them work by themselves. They will need supervision at some point during their task, whether that's just for part of the task, the first part of the task while they get to know what they're doing, or whether that's for the whole task. That's up to you, because again, that's going to impact your costs. So just be aware of that. If you've got somebody with no previous work experience, if it's their first time working on this project, they're new to the company, all that sort of stuff, they probably will need some supervision. That's something that the examiner will be looking for. We've got Terry there, he's another junior software engineer, seems to be quite experienced, so he'll be all right to work on his own. He gets £45 an hour. We've got Gina, she's the database engineer. again, she seems to be quite experienced, which is good, and she gets £47.50 an hour. And then down the bottom here, we've got Marius, who's our networking engineer. If you look at his core skills, it's all about hardware. The majority of the time, not all the time, so do make sure you read the brief carefully. Your network engineer will just concentrate on the hardware side of the project, so don't be putting them on software tasks because they're not qualified to do that. So just make sure you understand what their core skills are, what their previous experience is, and then relate that to tasks that are going to be relevant for them to do. And so, for example, Marius here implements computer networks, is into firewalls, router configuration, knows about network protocols. So therefore, he is not a software developer, is he? You can't give him a Python task to do because he won't know what he's doing. So anything to do with hardware, anything to do with networking, Marius is your man for that. He gets £73 an hour. And then we scroll down here and we're given our list of tasks. So these are all the tasks that we need to include in our project. These are not in order. It's up to you to put them in order. Okay, because down here at the bottom we've got creating a test plan. But there's no point in doing that last, is there, after you've done everything? So that's something you need to do first. We've got upgrading infrastructure, installing physical server. Now remember earlier, up here, you had two choices, cost of new server, option 1, option 2. If you go for option 1, a cloud-based server, you do not need to install a physical server as well. You only need one type of server. So if you decide to install a cloud server, you can actually ignore that because that's going to be relevant. However, if you want to do the physical server, then you would need to put that in. So that's the decision that you need to make. What sort of server are we going to have? And we've got developing all the modules, playing the modules, unit testing, integration testing, testing for faults, user acceptance, and user training. And at the bottom of this, we're given some additional information that we need. So at least 3 minor faults will be found with each module. No more than 3 major faults throughout the whole project. Each member of staff will work 7 hours a day for 5 days a week. And it's also assumed there's no staff absences during the project development. RBSX Group have requested the project is completed within 17 weeks. Okay, so you're always given a time frame and you need to try and stick to that. So that is the project brief. So make sure you read it and you understand what it is that you need to do and start to make any decisions that you need to make. So, for example, this one is the server. We're going to try with the cloud server for our solution. So let's see how that works out. If it turns out to be too expensive, we can, if we've got time, try that one. But I think most of the time, within your 3 hours, you will only have time to do one solution. So I'm thinking that's probably better because in the long run, it'll be cheaper because you don't have to do maintenance and things like that on it.